Welcome to another episode of the Goats of Growth. My guest today is Kiva Kolstein, President and Chief Revenue Officer of AlphaSense, which is an AI-powered market intelligence platform used by the world's leading corporations, consultancies, and financial institutions. Kiva, welcome to the Goats of Growth.
Thank you, Jay. I am very happy to be here.
I've been looking forward to this for quite a while, so I'm so excited to have you on. Thank you. Let me just get started with what I just mentioned there, which is just an interesting dynamic, right? You're the president and chief revenue officer, and both of those jobs sound very big, right? So how do you just divide your time up there? And then tell me a little bit about AlphaSense while you're at it.
Yeah, great question. Maybe I'll start with the second and get back to the first.
Yes.
And you began with a perfect introduction of AlphaSense. We are exactly that, an AI-powered market intelligence engine that sits on top of tens of thousands of sources of content. So content like sell-side research from every major bank and about 1,000 others, SEC and global filings, earnings call transcripts, company presentations, press releases, news, internal content from inside your company. And now with the acquisition of Tegus a few weeks ago, nearly 150,000 expert transcribed calls across every sector in both public and private companies. And all of this content sits in a platform layered upon which is an AI-powered search engine that enables you to find exactly what you're looking for more quickly than you could anywhere else. And to get to the answers from the platform that can be trusted when making investment or strategic decisions. And so my job, I'm just going to finish that off by saying my job as CRO is to drive growth. My role as president is to work across the ELT, align with my peers and colleagues on the ELT to make sure that every function, whether marketing, content, product, finance, strategic initiatives, et cetera, are all aligned against that same goal.
Thank you for that. Just getting back to customers for a second. How many customers do you have roughly, I'd say?
We have just over 4,000 enterprise customers, and that's split almost down the middle between financial services. And so in financial services, we say hedge funds, private equity, investment banks, asset management, and venture capital. Mm-hmm. And then corporate and consulting. On the corporate and consulting side, corporates across every sector of the economy. So TMT and CPG, life sciences, energy and industrials, and then the largest strategy consultancies in the world.
Got it. And then getting back to the big jobs that I mentioned that you broke down for me, the president and CRO, how do you prioritize where to spend your time on the different functions? Because obviously, again, CRO is large enough in and of itself, which is a lot of the people that I work with. But tell me a little bit about that.
The truth is, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about which job is which. As the president and chief revenue officer, my job on the ELT and my job as leader of the revenue organization is to drive growth for the organization. And so whether it's managing the function I'm responsible for, which includes sales and service and RevOps and enablement and other parts of the support system that enables our revenue organization to be successful, or strategic initiatives and the go-to-market strategy, designing pricing, packaging, go-to-market strategies that include customer segmentation and verticalizing and entering new markets. It's all with an eye toward growing the business. And so the two roles to some extent blend.
Got it. Obviously, you've experienced a lot of growth over the last 7 years. I just saw recently that AlphaSense was valued at a $4 billion valuation. Talk to me a little bit about the keys to that growth as you look over the last 7 years. One of the things that I know that you mentioned on your LinkedIn profile that stuck out to me was operational excellence. Define that in the context of growth and growth, not necessarily just growth, but growth and also making sure that it's efficient growth.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is to design a go-to-market strategy that makes good sense for the customer.
Hmm.
So when you think about the pricing, packaging, and customer segmentation, how are we targeting different verticals, sub-verticals, personas? How are we training our sales team to speak the language of the customer and have the platform be purpose-built for that very specific persona within that very specific sub-vertical or vertical?
Hmm.
Um, and that comes with a lot of training and development. And so one of the keys to our growth over the course of the last 7 years is to build a really robust sales enablement function. And so before we get to designing the revenue organization for growth, and I'll share with you in great detail how our RevOrg is designed, sales enablement is a secret weapon in a high growth, high velocity, complex scaling org like ours.
Hmm.
They're involved in every stage, beginning with Navy SEAL style onboarding to equipping sales teams with tools and training and resources and all the information that they need to effectively engage buyers where they are and close deals. And so it focuses on empowering sellers, capital S, which includes account managers, SDRs, and everyone else in the RevOrg, with the right content, the right technology, the right analytics to optimize their performance and drive growth. And so I think first step is building out a really strong sales enablement function. Second, and also a secret weapon, is a RevOps team that serves almost as the connective tissue across all of customer success and sales and marketing. And that team, from the earliest days of my getting there, which 7 years ago, was responsible for and continues to be measuring every facet of our business from top of the funnel all the way through to closed deals and renewals and upsells. And they slice the data for me by rep tenure, by manager, by AE SDR pairing, by geography, by vertical, by sub-vertical, by persona. And that data that they provide to me, and not just to me, but to each of the revenue leaders, informs every single decision that we make. And so that's sort of part one in terms of what that RevOps team is responsible for, and what I would attribute a lot of our growth to is using data to inform, what it is we plan to do. Double down here, pull back there, open a territory in this location or with this vertical. In addition, they're helping me tell a story with the data. So the stories that I tell to the company in company-wide presentations or to our ELT or to the board. And RevOps also serves as my eyes and ears because they're so well connected to revenue leadership and they understand how the team is reacting to something we may have rolled out. A new spiff, a new comp plan, a rejiggered territory, the expansion into a new market, the addition of a new product. I get from RevOps an eyes and ears email every Sunday night that helps me understand what they're hearing and seeing in our business. And so RevOps is another sort of weapon in building out the team over the course of the last 7 years, and definitely a catalyst behind all of the growth that we've experienced. And then the third, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kiva. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the third, I would say, before I get to the actual team, the people that are out there meeting with prospects and customers, is what we call strategic initiatives and go-to-market strategy. So in lots of companies, including AlphaSense maybe 6-7 years ago, the ELT is charged with trying to identify new ways to enter a new market or expand more deeply in a vertical or sell to a new persona or bolt on a new product. And that really dilutes or distracts the ELT. And so we built this strategic initiatives team whose whole job is to incubate new ideas. Because there are a lot of good ideas and there's a lot of things that we do want to explore. And so this team helps incubate these ideas, experiment, explore in a subset of our market, and launches more broadly if the idea works, or kills the idea if it doesn't. And so that's another team that I would say has been a big driver to our growth over the last 7 years.
Let me stick to what you just mentioned there. How much data do you need, or does your team need, in order to decide whether to stick to something or dead it to move on?
That's a tough question because it depends on what it is we're talking about here. If we're talking about adjusting our pricing strategy, that we want to understand how different client types across different, I mentioned all the different kinds of companies that buy access to AlphaSense, how each of them will react. If we're talking about entering a new market, we opened a new office in Singapore about 12 months ago, and we spent a great deal of time, 3 months time, investigating that market and really taking a measured approach to opening our first ever office in that region. And so we use data to inform everything that we do. And so how much data is a difficult question. The amount of data that gives us the confidence it will work or it won't.
Right. Yeah, I get that. Going back to sales enablement and RevOps, that was enlightening to me, because I feel like when I talk to a lot of sales leaders, they don't necessarily start there. When you got to AlphaSense, was that something that was already part of the fabric of growth and go to market? Is that something that you brought there? Because it sounds like it's a very strategic and conscious decision to make in order to say, okay, well, if we have this vision of, one day being valued at $4 billion and growing X amount over years, like this is where we need to start. Tell me about that.
That's a really good question. The answer is no. We didn't start there. So when I arrived at AlphaSense, we were doing 13.9 million in ARR.
Okay.
We had a really small team, and the team was generally selling AlphaSense generically, meaning regardless of the kind of company we were meeting with, a pharmaceutical company, a hedge fund, a bank, an energy company, we were pitching AlphaSense in the same way. We were showing them a demo of the platform and hoping that the smart person sitting on the other side would recognize the value in the platform and buy a seat, buy a subscription. And sometimes they did, and sometimes they didn't. But I think what we recognized very quickly is we had to be much more intentional about the language our customers by vertical, sub-vertical persona were using to describe their research process and how we might fit AlphaSense into their workflow. And so in very short order, we built a persona-based sales approach where we train sellers on how to sell to a strategy executive versus corporate development or investor relations, how to sell to hedge fund versus private equity, and recognized quickly that we didn't have the resources to do all that training as quickly as we were hiring. And so it became obvious to us that we needed to build a sales enablement function. And over the course of time, as the team has grown and grown more complex and the product has gotten more complex, we've built out that team.
How do you?
I was going to say the same thing about RevOps. Is there was a recognition early that we needed data to inform decisions that we were making. And that data came from lots of different places, not just Salesforce. And we needed a team of people to pull that data on a regular basis and help us understand what was working and what was not. And so that didn't exist at AlphaSense before I arrived, but in very short order recognized that those were two organizations that had to be built out here in order for us to scale.
And like most large initiatives, I would imagine it's a little bit of a flywheel effect, right? It's not like, okay, we need to hire a sales enablement expert, we need to hire RevOps, and then tomorrow, the floodgates have opened and here we are. So tell me about that. In other words, obviously there was some growing pains, I would imagine, at some point when you were at that $13 million market. How long did it take before it finally unlocked and you said, and it started to sort of, I guess, prove to be fruitful?
Almost overnight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It is an amazing product in a competitive landscape that doesn't include a lot of innovation. And so the truth is, over the course of the last 7 years, and I can say this every single year, there has been extraordinary, exceedingly high demand for a product like AlphaSense to help you get to the answer more quickly, to create efficiency where there is none, to make more productive your analysts, your strategy executives, to mitigate the risk of missing information. And so What was most challenging was hiring a team quickly enough to get out there and spend the kind of time with prospects and customers we needed to get them to see the platform, to experience the platform for themselves. And so that was, I think, over the course of the last 7 years, the greatest challenge is building the team to be able to deliver on that promise.
Talk to me about that then. Obviously near and dear to my heart. How did you go about tackling that, right? Hiring not just quickly, but hiring the right people.
Right.
So tell me about that.
Right. So first, there's a split between sales and service. And so at AlphaSense, we've got account executives who are responsible for selling new business and upselling existing business, because there are lots of knowledge professionals that exist inside of almost every company that we sell to who are not yet using AlphaSense. And we want to introduce AlphaSense to them and find new pockets of opportunity inside of all of these large companies. Our sellers both sell new logos and continue to sell inside of existing accounts. And then we've got a customer success organization who are responsible for maintaining, cultivating the relationship with the business, and making sure that we can continue to understand the value the customer is getting as a result of being a customer of AlphaSense, renewing that business. And then a product expert organization, we call them product specialists, who help provide our trialers with an amazing experience that convert them into paid users, help provide our users an amazing experience to make sure they're continuing to adopt our platform and have it be part of their daily workflow. And so the first thing was understanding sort of who may have the right, who's the right profile for either of those two roles. And then who has sold to knowledge professionals before or managed relationships on the customer success side with large Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 sized companies. And then it's a level deeper. Who can speak the language of an analyst at a hedge fund? Who can speak the language of an investor relations professional at a pharmaceutical company? And so can we train this person? Where do they come from? And so really understanding the profile of the seller, of the account manager we wanted to hire, and then either having them come with some industry or vertical experience or providing them with that training when they get here. Then it's about sort of what should that person be doing all day, every day. And we decided early on that highest and best use for the account executive was to be spending time in front of customers and prospects, not necessarily cold calling on their own. So we built an amazing sales development organization that serves dual purpose. They are our most consistent generator of pipeline. And that team is about 150 people today. And they serve as an incredible minor leagues for future talent at AlphaSense. And so our organization, not just the revenue organization, but certainly majority rev org, is littered with SDR promotes, SDRs who are promoted into AE or AM roles, or product roles, or content roles, marketing roles. And so an awesome minor leagues for us.
I can imagine people that are listening to that, what you mentioned about the SDRs generating pipeline, a massive amount of pipeline, want me to ask what percentage of the pipeline is the SDRs generating?
Today, it's about 35 to 40% of our pipe.
Okay, wow.
And the pipe comes from four places. The pipeline comes from SDRs who are aligned with AEs in almost a 1-to-1 ratio. It comes from the AEs themselves who do have a pipeline generation target. AMs, the account managers who are responsible for finding new pockets of opportunity inside of our client firms and then handing those opportunities off to the AEs. And of course, marketing.
Tell me about culture and culture building. You know, the difference between, where you were 7 years ago and now. How has the culture evolved? And I know, in looking at your LinkedIn feed, that you're just recognized for that, for culture and being one of the best places to work, or the best place for Inc. magazine. Talk to me about culture building and maintaining it all the way through, and to what you just said, right? A culture of of upward mobility, I guess, for SDRs to become AEs and so forth. Just tell me a little bit about how you've been able to build that.
Yeah, well, it's funny. In the beginning, I wielded great influence over our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And as the business has grown, um, both in terms of just sheer number of people and the geographies where we have offices, and uh, we've had to hire really great people to carry that torch
Mm-hmm.
and to continue to build on the great culture that we created many years ago. And we've been able to do that. And so I would say, if I were to define our culture, it's about collaboration. It's about best practices sharing. It's about aligning against a business goal and driving very hard against that goal. It's about lifting each other up. It's about recognizing we're all in this to grow the business, regardless of the function we may be responsible for. And so I think you see that across the entire business, people cheering for each other and jumping into rooms to role play with each other and staying at the office late at night to work on objection handling or negotiation skills. Um, and it starts at the very beginning with new hire onboarding and the sales enablement team and how they've set up those first 3 weeks. Really interactive, really intense, but it lays the groundwork for what we expect of you and what you can expect of us throughout your entire career at AlphaSense. I'd say two more things that I would use to define the culture. One is feedback rich. We try to provide feedback in the moment. And so the folks who thrive at AlphaSense are open to receiving feedback. And they're also quite good at giving feedback. And so we as executives at AlphaSense, and frankly, everybody at the firm, needs to understand that it works both ways. And so we have to be receptive to receiving feedback. And there isn't a meeting that I'm in or a presentation that I give where I'm not hearing from folks on the ground who share with me afterward what I could have done differently, how I might have said this better, had I just changed this word or two. And so it's really fantastic. And the other is a seat at the table. We hire really smart, capable, sophisticated people who are expected to come with a fresh set of eyes and ears and new perspective and take a seat at the table and help us think through all of the challenges that we face across pricing, packaging, customer segmentation, verticalizing, entering a new market, bolting on a new product, all the things that we're doing on a regular basis. Our goal is to do it better today and tomorrow than we did it yesterday. And so good ideas can come from anywhere. And so we talk a lot about debating ideas, not people. And so you'll often find an SDR debating the CEO. And as long as you come with data, and as long as your idea holds up when we look at that data and compare it to what we're currently doing, then that's how we get better.
Where does that debate take place? I'm trying to picture the SDR debating with the CEO. Is it like within a conference, at a one-on-one meeting? Like what's the atmosphere or the setting, I guess, when an SDR gets to communicate with a CEO and give feedback in that way?
It could be anywhere. So we host QBRs every quarter for every single person in the revenue organization. So you'll find the entire executive team, including our CEO, attend those QBRs, so quarterly business reviews, where whomever may be presenting is taking a quick look back on the previous quarter, previous half, what went well, what could have gone better, and then spending the majority of the time on the upcoming quarter or half, planned gap plans and solutions to things that we are trying to overcome, and ideas for how we might want to reorganize in this way, that way, a new creative pricing strategy. And in those moments where the account team, which could include an AE, an AM, an SDR, others, is on the line presenting their QBR to what we call their board, mostly the ELT, who are there listening and poking holes and testing assumptions, asking difficult questions. And in that environment, you might find SDR debating CEO on best path forward for this very specific customer.
Got it. That makes sense. As you look to the future, right? I mean, obviously, we've been talking about the last 7 years and how you've gotten to this point. Tell me about what you envision for the next, I don't know, couple of years. Like, what do you see as possible
that AlphaSense can get done, and what do you need in order to make that happen from an execution perspective?
Yeah, we are still in the earliest days of what our platform can do. And there are limitless implementations we can explore. Super excited about what's coming next and all the potential. I'd say a few things. One is we'll continue to expand globally, enhancing our content sets to more geographies and languages. We'll expand our global footprint by investing in talent in our London office, our Singapore office, Finland, India. We just acquired Tegas, and so following that acquisition, we're going to add even more private company data and expert insights content for our customers, growing our content library exponentially. We're going to double down on our product roadmap and enterprise solution, especially in terms of how we're leveraging generative AI on top of our search engine for business and financial content. One development that we're especially excited about is AlphaSense Assistant. This is a feature which enables users to ask questions of the platform the same way you'd ask an analyst or a researcher. Being able to use like natural language to interact with our platform represents a huge leap forward for this entire market. And then we'll continue to expand our enterprise solution, which delivers our AI-powered search and summarization securely on top of our customers' proprietary organizational knowledge. So all of the content that exists inside your company in all sorts of disparate places, layering on top of that the AI-powered search engine and summarization is going to be really powerful. So I think that's sort of what's in our near term.
Amazing. One more question, and I will get to the rapid fire 5. And this is something that I've been asking a lot of revenue leaders lately. And obviously, given the growth that you've experienced, I feel like there's no better person to ask it than you at this particular time, which is, over the last 3 or 4 years or so, there's been this, hand-wringing, I guess, if you will, of moving from growth at all costs to profitable, efficient growth. What are your thoughts there? In other words, how are you growing while still remaining focused on being efficient and profitable? Is that something that you are, or is that, AlphaSense seems to be growing so quickly. Is that something that you're concerned about right now?
Absolutely. And so growing efficiently is one of our sort of key objectives, not just this year, but over the course of the last few years. And so paying careful attention to margin and to Rule of 40, to sort of how the cost of sale changes by vertical, by sub-vertical, by persona, by geography, how expensive it is to drive pipeline, outbound versus inbound. And it all sort of leads to the productivity of the seller and the account manager. So we spend a great deal of time talking about productivity versus anything else.
I bet that's why that RevOps team and sales enablement is so important, going back to what we were talking about in the beginning, right? Building the foundation for that so that you can be efficient and profitable, and giving your people essentially enough tools and resources to be successful and to do it efficiently.
Yeah.
Yep. Makes sense. Okay, cool. You ready for the rapid fire 5?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, here we go. Number 1, what motivates you?
I absolutely love the idea we're building a winner. I wake up every morning with the belief that we have all the pieces in place to win at AlphaSense. And I spend practically every waking moment, don't tell my wife or children, working on delivering that winner for our employees, for the ELT, for our board, for investors. That is my why. That's what gets me out of bed every morning, and skipping to work.
Skipping to work. I love it. Name a big goal you have right now, and when would you like to accomplish it?
I'll stick with a professional goal.
Sure.
I think the next big milestone is $1 billion in revenue, and to take this company through an IPO. And so one may happen before the other, but both are goals I have right now. And I'm basically putting blinders on to do whatever is necessary to help us get there.
Care to set a timeline for those goals or that goal?
Not yet.
Okay, fair enough. What's your most preferred way to learn new information and to stay sharp?
I'm a member of several great peer learning organizations. So YPO, which is Young Presidents Organization, and Pavilion. Both offer me an opportunity to spend lots of time with people in similar roles and similar stages of life, helping each other overcome whatever challenges we may be facing in our personal and professional lives. Really important to me to spend time in both of those organizations, and I get a lot out of both of them. And then I listen to podcasts as often as I possibly can. Not necessarily about the business that I'm in, but I generally enjoy great interviews and great interviewers like you. So Dax Shepard, Kara Swisher, Joe Rogan. There are a bunch of really great interviewers that I listen to, and I don't know that that's necessarily staying sharp or up to date, up to speed on my market, but I do get a lot of enjoyment out of that.
Yeah, some of those are people that I listen to too as well. And for sure, I think podcast is a great way for me anyways to stay up to date on everything. For sure. Who's your favorite character of all time? That's a loaded question, I know. Could be someone.
So I'll tell you. So in my the truth is Rocky is my favorite character of all time. But give me any underdog story. Rocky, Hoosiers, Remember the Titans, Miracle on Ice. I mean, it doesn't matter the character of the team. I believe in the underdog. And my wife will tell you that I don't cry in rom-coms. I only cry at the end of an underdog story, and that's really true. In terms of business, I take a lot from everyone I admire. And I'd say maybe a tie between Steve Jobs and Simon Sinek. Jobs for his relentless innovation and vision. Simon Sinek for inspiring leadership principles and an emphasis on purpose and trust.
I have to interject and say a couple of things. So I have on my search for on my iPod, if you will, what am I talking about? Apple, right? Like my music. I have Burning Heart, No Easy Way Out, and
that's been my workout playlist since like 1999.
My daughter was so I've had my kids listen. I'm just like I had my kids listen to, or we've watched Rocky probably, and this is not an exaggeration. I have an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. I think they've probably already watched one version of Rocky or another at least 60 times. We've watched Rocky 4 more than any other Rocky. My daughter was asking me the other day why I listen to Burning Heart so much. She doesn't get it. And I'm like, it's when Rocky is about to go to Russia. I'm like, yes. I'm like, don't you understand that? So I love that you just mentioned that. I just had them watch The Pursuit of Happiness. I don't know if you saw that with Will Smith.
Great movie.
And did you see The American Underdog, by the way? The story about the quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams when they were the greatest show on turf from Kurt Warner. Have you seen that one?
I know the Kurt Warner story, but I have not seen that movie. I need to watch that.
You have to watch it. I was just talking to my son about that just yesterday. And then I'll also say with Simon Sinek, so my daughter loves to play basketball, and she was struggling from basically from the mental part of the game. And I said, you need to write down your why. I'm like, you need to know why you're doing this. Why are you pursuing this? What do you need to do? And then I started talking about Simon Sinek and all that. And so anyway, she wrote it down. I have to frame it, but so that's pretty cool that you brought those up.
That's amazing. At 11 years old, not that you shared. I mean, that's a really smart thing for you to share with her and maybe even to show a clip or two of Simon Sinek. But for her to respond by writing down her why, that's pretty amazing. And you should frame that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty powerful. I loved the fact that she did that. So
as a father of a 9-year-old, I can't imagine what I'd get back if I asked him to do that. I'm good.
Yeah, notice I didn't say my 9-year-old did that either yet. So we'll see. Last question. What's your favorite thing to do when you aren't working?
Spend time with my family. My beautiful wife, Wendy, our children, Charlie, Benny, Shia. And then I play a zillion sports with friends in town. I live in Westchester, and I'm in every old dad league imaginable. Tennis, softball, golf, paddle, pickle, flag football, anything that we can organize. I'm on everyone's text chain. And so everyone always knows I'm in. If there's a game, I'm in.
I absolutely love that. That is fantastic. Kiva Kolstein, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. I know you're really busy, so I appreciate you carving out some time to spend it with me.
Thank you, Jay. Really, really enjoyed this and look forward to doing this again.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, and tell anybody that is growth minded as well about the Goats of Growth podcast. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.